So, Molly, tell me why you joined the Fierce Emporium.
Um, I found the Fierce Emporium at a time when I'd recently experienced two layoffs kind of close to each other. So it really just shook everything I felt like I'd been working towards. And at the same time, I was drawn to it because I recognized that, something was obviously amiss with the industry, with my own goals. And I needed something to sort of help me forge a good path forward.
Brilliant. And you must have had some hesitations about joining something called the Fierce Emporium that's a career redesign program. What were they?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the US, I was a little hesitant that, it'd be a very different sort of set of rules, across the pond, and that it wouldn't, that the, I just felt like it might not apply to my situation, to being in the US, to being in the Midwest. And I was a little worried about that connection of, kind of knowing people in the group in the sense of like a couple of degrees of separation, like we were definitely all the degrees of separation. So
Yes.
that was my concern. And of course it's not an inexpensive product. And I'd done career coaching in the past. So those were my main hesitations going in.
Perfect. So now tell me some of your personal highlights from either the time you spent in it or from our conversations or any of your time in the Fierce Emporium.
I mean, I think a personal highlight was really going through the actual Fierce Emporium. I got a ton out of our one-on-one conversations
Hmm.
too, of course. But the Fierce Emporium, I loved that I could revisit it. And I loved that when we got together with the group, different parts really resonated with different people.
Hmm.
So it was an adjustment sort of getting into that. But once I was in, I just loved all the sort of different ways you could engage with it.
Lovely. And what's your biggest or one of your biggest takeaways from all of the time in the Fierce Emporium?
From all of the time in the Fierce Emporium, there was actually one exercise, and I'm not going to remember the specific name now, but it was essentially something about cloaking yourself and
Yes.
really
The
masking.
invisibility cloak.
Yes, the invisibility cloak was my biggest takeaway because, as a person, I have a lot of different interests, and both in work and in life, I've always felt the need to sort of hide different parts of it because you know it's easier for other people to just put you in a box, or that was my perception. And I think going through this and really both doing that exercise and then talking about it with you, that's not how people respond. Like, people do not expect you to be a cube or a robot. And you're more interesting and more engaging with all of you, and that's
Yes.
both at work and sort of in the broader world. So just learning that message and beginning to internalize it was probably my biggest takeaway.
Fabulous. Tell us, how does your future look or feel after having completed the Fierce Emporium?
um well, I'm taking a pretty big shift. So on the one hand, it's terrifying, but on the other hand, it's not as terrifying as the thought of trying to be what I was trying to be before. Um, I don't, I feel like I'm going to make a lot of mistakes and it's going to look ugly for some moments, or at least it won't be pretty. But I also feel like when I tell people about what I'm on to next, they get excited for me, and I think they're just reflecting back that I'm so excited to just recognize all the possibility in the world, which is easy to get shut off from.
Oh my God, fabulous. I'm so excited about that. Um, and final silly question. Describe either the Fierce Emporium or your experience in the Fierce Emporium in 3 words.
Ooh, um, uncloaking would be one word. I think messy would be another word, and hopeful.
Thank you, Molly.